Jon.
Hey, Brian.
You ready to make a welcome podcast?
You know I'm ready, man.
All right. So here's what I'm thinking. For this welcome episode, we need to introduce ourselves so that people know who we are. So why don't we start off by talking a little bit about ourselves and the journeys that have led us to become the co-founders of Go Be More.
That sounds like a great idea. Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to start because basically I want to. So how about that? All right. Now, all right. So
Hey, that's not fair. I want to go first.
no way. All right. So I started my Go Be More journey actually way back about 20 years ago at UCLA. And at that time, I was an average runner with average performances and not really knowing why. I started studying the topics of learning theory and the psychology of successful performance and learning a bunch of different mental models. And I started applying those to my life, and I completely changed who I was, really, in a profound way. My running immediately started improving, and my schoolwork improved, and I just started to see advancements everywhere in my life. And it's funny because right around this time is when I first met you. Like that summer when I went through this kind of transition, that's when you joined the team. So when you met me,
Yeah, you were the old man. I called you the old man.
that's right. I was the old man. I was the team leader. I was the top runner. And it's funny now because I think about it and I think, oh, Jon never knew me as the guy who just sort of didn't know what he was doing. Like you met me right after I sort of started to figure it out. And
I knew you as the Green Machine. That's how I knew you.
That's right. I was the Green Machine.
We had a million nicknames for each other, and
I was
had
the
some
old
good ones
man
too.
and I was the Green Machine. And you were the young guy who came in full of belief, talking about, I'm going to break world records. I'm going to be the best miler in the world. And, all of us were going, you don't even have a scholarship, right? But you came in with so much belief and so much, obviously you had the talent and the belief, but it was a really welcome, boost to us when you showed up. But the thing that I think about that time is I come back to it and I think, I took these mental models and this study of things like psychology of learning, and I started to apply it to my life, and it really made a huge difference. And I didn't continue competing in running after I graduated. I moved to Japan and I did other things, but I took that mindset with me. And you might even remember this. I actually put together this like set of principles about how to think about being successful, and I like led a class. Like I convinced Coach Peterson to let me teach a class to the other people on the team, right?
Yeah, no, I remember it. And thinking back on it, I mean, it's not as clear as I'd like it to be. It's hazy, but I distinctly remember you doing that. I distinctly remember you wanting to share this information with the entire team. So it was pretty impressive. It's funny looking back at it now with where we're at, what we're doing and what we're embarking upon with this podcast and the apparel company Go Be More. It's funny, but this is how life works. It leads all these breadcrumbs. It leads to where you are now, and as you go further along, there'll be more other ones when you look back. But we could definitely see the last 20 years leading up to this moment, right?
Yeah, you're right. And so I put together these principles. I taught the class. I don't remember anything either about the class that I tried to teach to all you guys at this point anymore. But I went on and I didn't keep running competitively, but I took this mindset that helped me become a good runner and figure it out. And I started applying it to other things, right? So I started using it I started wanting to learn foreign languages. So I started learning more languages, and I went to grad school. I started working at some big companies. I ended up having a long career at Apple where I worked, and I took these mindsets and I tried to use them to become better and to become an expert at my craft and to do to learn what I was trying to learn. And in everywhere I went, these principles helped me to sort of achieve a measure of success. And so if we fast forward, I actually left Apple because my wife and I had a dream. And that dream was to go live in Italy. And
dream.
That is the dream, right?
It's
the dream for everybody, right? So
my dream.
We had that dream and we decided, let's just do it. And I quit my job. We sold everything and we moved our family to Italy for a couple of years. And,
Man, that's cool.
And at that same time, we reconnected. It had been a long time. I don't know how long it had been, but we reconnected, and you were telling me about your plan for Go Be More. And I you know,
Well, it wasn't much of a plan. I just told you about my idea. I'm not a plan guy. I'm working on that. That's one of my
I,
Go Be More challenges.
that's so funny because I sometimes think like you are the passion and I am the plan. I'm the planner, right? I'm the
Oh,
I'm
oh
the
no, it's totally true. You guys are gonna find out. Like Brian and I are definitely yin and yang.
yeah, passion
I'm
versus
brown and,
process.
and he's white, but
Yeah.
it's more to that than just our skin color. We literally are different in so many ways, but we complement each other, and you guys will see that and hopefully enjoy the back and forth banter of our
Well,
podcast episodes coming up here.
so you tell me about the idea, and I said to myself, this is the framework of what I want to be doing. Like, this is something I want to be a part of. I have all these ideas I want to share. They fit perfectly with what you want to do. My skills complement your skills. We should be doing this. And then from that moment, that's when I decided I was going to get involved in it. And now I'm living in Japan. I teach classes at a university. I literally teach classes on mental models and strategies for success at a Japanese university. And now we're working together and we've launched this company. And so I'm really excited for what this holds for me as a person, for you as a motivational speaker, and such an inspiring person, and of course for this podcast and our company. That's a little bit about me. That's my background. And why don't I kick it over to you, John? Why don't you tell them about your background and sort of what's led you to this point?
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying before, I was definitely a dreamer. I looked at the world so differently than everybody else, and I did come into UCLA. I mean, I was so funny looking. I was like the skinny Steve Urkel looking, afro, braces, glasses. I mean, I had the whole thing going for me. I had the glasses and the braces and the whole thing, and everybody was just like, "Man, who's this crazy kid?" I talked funny. I had goofy sayings like, "Oh, snap."
That's right. Yes,
And
I remember that.
I was
Forgot about
so
that.
goofy. I was so goofy, but I was also like this kid that came in, and it's like you guys didn't know me at first, but like if you were to ask our coach, Eric Peterson, I said, I walked onto the campus on my recruiting trip, and I said to him within seconds that I wanted to sign, and he's like, "Well, hold on, wait a minute, like you can't, let us at least give us 48 hours to show you." And I was like, "No, I went to so many different schools, and I just knew that this was the school I wanted to go to because I called it the school for Olympians because they made Olympians."
That's true.
And I'm like, I'm going to be an Olympian, so why wouldn't I go to the school where they make Olympians? That was my mindset. I was this kid that was funny, goofy, had this goofy side to me, but the side that balanced me out was this big dreamer. Like I am the astronaut. I am the guy that wants to walk on the moon, that lives on the moon, even though I'm not there yet.
Right.
I'm the guy that nothing is impossible. And that feeling that I've had my entire life, I've just wanted to give it to people. That's just how I am. And so Go Be More is a byproduct of that. It was as an English major at UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
I was trained to interpret, and see what other people don't see, or to see things in ways and argue for things that people might not see in a passage in a book, a piece of literature, old or new. And the fairy tale, the Gingerbread Man, honestly, I didn't even read the fairy tale. It just came to me. It was definitely came from somewhere. It was like, this little brown guy, it's a runner, I'm a brown guy, and I'm a runner. I'm like, hey, yeah, that might be a good symbol. And then I started looking at the story though, and I go, yeah, it's way beyond what's on the surface. Like, this character represents my philosophy. He wanted to be more than what he was made to be, and I want to be more than what people say I can be. And so I love that about him.
You know what's funny is you actually came up with this before your kidney disease, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, many times
Yeah.
when I tell people, "Oh, Go Be More," and John, I work with John. He's a Olympic miler. He's a kidney disease survivor, and everyone's like, "Oh, that makes sense. Go Be More. He must have come up with that after his kidney disease." I'm like, actually, I think Go Be More predated your kidney disease. You were running for Nike, and you had come up with this idea for Go Be More, and then life events, you know, happened that made it all the more sort of
Oh
potent
yeah,
and
it's
real in your
crazy. I
life.
remember one of the first conversations I ever had with anybody was with a good friend of mine named Vince Shorb, who's the founder of the National Financial Literacy Council. up in Los Angeles, and he was and I were on the phone, and we were talking about me doing speeches and stuff like that, and he was asking me about Gobi Moore, and it was funny because that was like back in like 2007, 2008. Actually, it's like 2007, and I'm like, I was actually on a bike near the track at the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking back, I mean, how far back did I really think about it? Because it had been so many years working on it and thinking about it and developing the idea and asking my friend from college to draw up these iterations of the initial logo that I originally had. The logo went through so many iterations. It's crazy. Yeah, this thing has been going on for a long time. But at the end of the day, it wasn't the kidney disease, FSGS, which I was diagnosed with in 2008. Crazy story for you guys to know is that I was diagnosed with the terminal kidney disease literally within weeks before my first Olympic trials. So I was told I was halfway towards kidney failure. And I think what inspires me years later as it relates to Gobi Moore and my kidney disease is that I didn't let that diagnosis, at least not in that moment, throw me off from making the Olympic team as an alternate and pursuing the dream that I had had since the age of 14. And at that point, I was 26, a 12-year dream. And I was literally moments away from fulfilling that dream. And kidney disease, kidney failure or not, I was like, I'm still doing this thing. And I want to share that with people. I want people to feel that sense of like determination
Yep.
and have something represent that in them, and that's what Gobi Moore is now becoming for me as we work on and develop this. But in the beginning, it was all about chasing dreams and being true to who we were born to be. That's what it was for me, and I'm excited to share that passion and concrete ideas that you have. And of course, in motivational talks and speeches and snippets that I like to share and rants that I like to go on when it comes to just getting people excited about who they are and their life in this moment in time that we've been given.
Well, you have this sort of gift when you're speaking, and I hope everybody will get a chance to hear that both on this podcast and through your YouTube videos and through the speeches and everything that we put up, because it's so genuine in everything you're saying. It's, as somebody who's known you for a long time, it's easy to see somebody speaking and question how genuine those feelings are. But I know you very personally, and I know that you're how you feel about this stuff, and so that's why we're so excited to get this podcast started, right?
Yeah.
We both come from very different backgrounds. I'm the process oriented, analytical, step by step, mindset, and you're the big dream, put it out there, a lot of passion, find what you're going to do, live your purpose. And you and I, in all these different ways, we end up in these long discussions and we talk about these deep topics. And the funny thing about that is we've been doing this for years now. And really, like, we've joked that these should be a podcast. And now that's what we're going to do. We're going to make these a podcast. So
Yeah. We see value in the conversations because when we do talk about this with other people, as far as like the theories that we're working on, the concepts that we're trying to apply, it's like, it's one thing to read about it, but it's another thing to talk about it. And it's an even bigger thing to apply it. And I always say knowledge without application is wasted. But knowledge applied is wisdom, And so I truly believe that we need to help each other, like you and I are helping each other all the time. And I feel like I'm a better person. And I'm so grateful for this relationship and the opportunity to do the work that we're doing. It's honestly so crazy how natural it feels to do this stuff.
I feel the same way. And I want to keep pushing on this stuff too, because I feel like there's so much more that we haven't done yet. And this podcast is going to be a great chance to sort of track some of that and learn from each other and push each other to be, who we are born to be individually and to build our own strengths. So, a couple of the things I want to cover on this for anybody who's listening, we want to talk about the way we think influences how we act, topics around how the environment we build around ourselves affects how successful we become. Creating habits, simple, effective systems that you can apply. As you said, knowledge applied is wisdom. You have to be able to apply it. But there's simple techniques that you can apply, that you can implement to build new habits and systems. And of course, there's tons of obstacles we need to overcome, and how do we do that? And you've got this amazing experience in terms of your kidney disease and your the stuff you've gone through in your life, and I'm myself as well in a very different way.
Oh
And
yeah.
I want to explore these ideas. So we're going to do that in more detail. We don't need to go into too much detail on that right now.
We could, but we won't.
We
We're gonna
could, but we
tease you
won't.
guys.
We have
You guys gotta listen to the next episode.
That's right. We have many episodes to get into the rest of this stuff. The other thing I'll just say is that we are very fortunate to have built a great network of people over time in our lives, people who are Olympians, business leaders, community leaders. And we are hoping over time to bring some of them on to share their wisdom with you on this podcast as well. And that's something that we are personally really looking forward to. And we hope that you guys will enjoy those conversations when they happen as well.
I mean, I can definitely, the funniest story ever is when I was a sophomore and we were living together. And speaking of connections, so Mebratem Keflezgi, Meb Keflezgi, at Run Meb. Meb is a legend. He's one of the greatest distance runners of all time. I was getting to know of Meb when I started at UCLA. I got to meet him before I started. When I was being recruited. I had these moments when I was like, okay, there's this Meb guy. He has this aura. There's something about this guy. But this was back in 2000, 1999, 2000. So Meb was Meb, but Meb wasn't Meb now, 20 years later.
Yeah, right.
But even then, I remember being in awe of Meb and seeing him as somebody that I looked up to as an example. He called for you. He called the apartment. This is before cell phones were really cell phones. And so he calls the apartment. I answered this house phone. That shows you how old we are, you guys. And, I'm 38, man. I'm almost at the 40-year mark. I don't know how old Brian is, but I was calling him the old man 20 years ago. So he might be a little bit older
than John, that's for sure.
But Meb called and I answered. And I was, this call, guys, changed my life. Not kidding. He called, and this is why we were excited to reach out to and use the knowledge and wisdom and the passions that these great people like Meb, that we are so lucky to be connected to, can share with you guys. Because I'm telling you, one line, one message, one piece of advice can literally change your life. He called, and he's calling for Brian, but I hijacked the call. And I said, and then Meb answered, he said, hey, this is Meb, can I speak to Brian? I was like, man, this is John, And he's like, hey, what's up, John? How's it going? And I just talked to him for literally, it was probably 2 minutes. And Meb goes, how's training going? I said, man, it's going great. And I told him I was doing some push-ups and sit-ups every once in a while. And he says, hey, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. And I said, yeah, what's up, Meb? And he goes, whatever you do, if it makes you better, the only way it will benefit you is if you are consistent. He says consistency is the key to you being successful. If you are not consistent, you will not be successful. If you consistently do the right things, you will get better. If you consistently do the wrong things, you will not get better. He says it's very, very simple. Be consistent. And I said,
it's it.
Okay, here's Brian. and I remember waking up the next morning and I was like, because I was doing push-ups and sit-ups every morning. It was the first thing I did every morning. And I was a sophomore in college, and I was young and hungry. And I said, you know what? Man, Meb said be consistent, so I'm never going to miss a day. Guess what, guys? I never missed a day. And I became the greatest middle distance runner in UCLA history. Middle distance runner. Meb's the greatest distance runner.
Yeah.
Middle distance runner. And I telling you, that message from Meb changed my life. And we are so lucky to know Meb. We hope he'll do this podcast. We hope his brother Mahawi, who's another great mentor of mine and great friend of Brian's, I hope they'll do the podcast. But we have great people like that we know when they share their wisdom, their applied knowledge with you guys and with us, we're going to be so blessed, man. And they have great stories about how what the meaning of Go Be More really is to them, and we're very lucky because we know that we're going to get to bring them on and share that with you guys.
So, John, I want to end this welcome podcast, if you don't mind. What many people might not know is you're a motivational speaker. You do a lot of talks to schools and companies and camps and teams all over the place. And you often tell the story of the Gingerbread Man, but your story of the Gingerbread Man is a little bit different from the typical story of the Gingerbread Man. And it's the root motivation for a lot of what Go Be More has become. So
Yeah.
why don't you tell that story, and then we'll end this podcast.
Yeah, well, you guys got to check me out on YouTube because I'm posting a lot of videos with our team. Shout out to MJ and our team members, Nadine and my brother Wesley, Von Ware. We got a lot of great people that you guys are going to get to know. Jessica Crate, a lot of great supporters like Troy Samuels. And I share this story with the team. They love the story, but I started sharing it at the end of my speeches with audiences. So I tell my story. You know, I'm this young kid that had this crazy dream of becoming an Olympian. I was told, even though everybody loved me, but they said, man, that dream is impossible. That dream is crazy to become an Olympian. Not only become an Olympian, but an Olympic champion and a world-class track and field athlete. It's impossible. Well, in many ways, the way that everybody would tell me that I can't do something, this fairy tale of the gingerbread man, it's the same thing. You know, everybody, this little old lady makes a cookie, and he was made for one reason and one reason only, to be a cookie and to be eaten by the little old lady. That was it. There was nothing beyond that. But the cookie came to life, you know, and him coming to life, that's the first part of it. For all of us, we have this thing in us that's the moment we're born, that thing is born too. And that's the energy with which we live our lives. And I call that our dreams. I think that that's our dreams, and that's what brings us to life. But when we don't chase our dreams, we stop living our lives, and we start just living in this survival mode. We're just kind of getting through it. Life is not meant to be survived. It's meant to be lived. And so the gingerbread man, he came to life because he wanted to be more. He wanted to go be more. GBM, gingerbread man. So he jumps out the window and runs past the little old lady and the little old man and the cow and the pig and the horse and all these characters that were running after him. But the reason why they couldn't catch him is because he knew something was pulling him forward down this path. And in the same way, we have this same thing in us that would pull us up, that will lift us up, that will help us to overcome all the time. And it is our dreams. I truly believe that it is these things in us that keep us up at night, that come to us because we're the ones that were chosen to bring those dreams, those ideas, and those passions to life and into the world, so that the world can become a better version of itself, just like we would become a better version of ourselves and the truer version that we were born to be of ourselves. And so he's running down this path past all these different characters. And in my mind, they represented the obstacles in our lives. So each character could represent, you know, our fears or our doubts or a good relationship or a bad relationship or some type of obstacle, common obstacle that we face in our lives that can become a hindrance to forward progression and become a distraction from who we really are and as some source of discouragement. So my theory is that when you know what your dreams are and you begin to chase your dreams, just like this gingerbread man, you will come to life. You will become more than a cookie, and that every single thing on your path towards your dreams will be one that you can overcome, because it will not be able to stop you, because you will know who you are. And this is what he tells everybody. Y'all know the saying. You may not have read the story in a long time, but I guarantee you, you know it. Because he would look back and he would say, you can run as fast as you can, but you can't catch me because I'm the gingerbread man. And even though he gets eaten by the fox at the end of that story, I remind people that story doesn't end with the fox eating the gingerbread man, because we are the gingerbread man, and our story is the continuation of that story. Our job is to continue to go be more than what we were born into, be more than what the world says we can be, because we have dreams. And I believe that if we chase those dreams, that the world will chase us, that we can become what the world is chasing, just like the gingerbread man. So that's the inspiration behind our company, man.
I love it. So with that, I think we should wrap this up.
All right.
Our first full podcast will be coming out shortly. In the meantime, to everybody listening, please subscribe in your favorite podcast player so you don't miss it. You can check the show notes for links or to our website or to any other accounts. For Jon, I'm Bryan. We are what the world is chasing, and we hope every episode of this podcast inspires you to become what the world is chasing too.